A compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
Happy Hope Day.
А у вас, наверное, еще нет новогодней елки. Поспешите. Выбрать ее не так-то просто.
You probably haven't got a New Year tree yet. Then you should hurry because it isn't so easy to choose one. It can be really problematic.
Вот уж поистине елки-палки.
The celebration is only successful if there is a New Year tree, shining baubles, Ded Moroz or Grandfather Frost, and a sack full of presents. Actually, the Romans started celebrating it on the 31st of December and the January the 1st on the initiative of Julius Caesar. He decided to move the new year. The Romans hugely enjoyed themselves for 5 days. All this time, citizens wearing masks walked outside, gave each other presents and said hooray for the Happy Hope Day to the passerby. A few hundreds of centuries have passed by, and this holiday changed from its form and started new traditions. We started celebrating New Year under the Soviet rule when the Kazakhs became active in the culture area and Turkic people began living in the same culture area with the Russians and other European people. We will tell you about everything that unites them now and makes a digression into a not-so-ancient history. It is Kazakhstan's version of the New Year's Digest, or the way New Year was celebrated before. The New Year celebration has deep historical roots and human traditions. In childhood, we learn about traditions through stories and fairy tales, which is passed down through generations.
Наших дедушек, бабушек, через сказки.
Ayaz Ata is a counterpart of Ded Moroz, a European and American Santa Claus. Chapter 1. The Old New Year. Builders of the Vurin fortification celebrated the first New Year in yurts. They made fires, cooked meat, but did not do anything special. At that time and a bit later, New Year celebrations were not held. They did not participate in any winter activities either. There weren't many opportunities to do it in Semirachi because weather rarely turned frosty and winter was very short. Many people did not even have winter window frames. Snow wasn't deep and melted quickly. You can see how it was ready melted too. However, in Pavlodar, for example, it was possible to enjoy various winter activities including skating and sledding. These activities were done on the Irtysh River. Mainly young boys and girls went to the skating rink. Pavlodar's fire brigade prepared and filled the rink. Now it is done on land, but previously they filled the rink on the Irtysh River, which was covered with ice, so there was an ice slide too. The day is great today. It is frosty and sunny and we could enjoy a wonderful Siberian winter. At the turn of the 20th century, new traditions were established in connection with the holiday. There is a quotation saying that when people entered 1907, multiple cannon shots were fired and people spent time enjoying exhilarating folk entertainment. The evening ended when many cannon rockets were fired, which amazed the steppe guests. In ancient times, people created noise to ward off evil. The noise could come from cannon shots, fireworks, or just loud, happy exclamations. Anyway, the New Year remained a holiday of secondary importance until the Revolution, while Christmas had the highest importance. Newspapers proved this fact. Uralsky Listok, 1894, an acting ataman and his family attended a social New Year party. A hymn was sung by dissolving views were shown. Poor children were given combs, stockings and boots, while rich children were presented with sweets and toys. The Khiva Khan arrived from Tashkent. Uralsk citizens continue to find ground squirrels and the latter still win. It was an attempt to infect ground squirrels with the chicken cholera, but they survived. In a local branch office at the State Bank, 1,600 rubles were stolen from a customer's pocket. A capsule of deodorant capsules were sold as holiday gifts. Grandfather Frost, as we know him, was not mentioned at all. He is a character from the Soviet reality. It is said that he appeared at the Kremlin New Year parties thanks to the Soviet writers who wrote scripts for these celebrations. Chapter 2. A large sack on his back. Grandfather Frost, our kind and good friend, is traveling across newly fallen snow to visit us again. In any case, he is the main person of this celebration of life. His most important features are a moustache, a beard, a sheepskin coat, and a staff. His height is preferred to be above average. He should have a low voice and not a high voice. Physical training is necessary so that he could carry large sacks. An unusual occupation engaged Bagashar Akbaybakov's interest. This honoured elder, the oldest camel breeder in Algabas Collective Farm, had to act the part of Grandfather Frost at the age of 73.
На 73-м году жизни почтенному аксакалу пришлось выступить для Деда Мороза.
Conventionally, all the Grandfather Frost performers can be divided into amateurs and professionals. Everybody can become an amateur Grandfather Frost. If you want to receive a present, you should dance first. A Grandfather Frost and shepherd's children who came from distant winter areas were glad. Grandfather Frost are seasonal employees. They work 1 out of 12 months a year. The main requirements are having a steady nerves, a good sense of direction, and ability to recite in a loud voice and showing love for all the people around, trying not to frighten them. Grandfather Frost should not look like a monster having a beard and a mustache and wearing a red and blue robe. The more professional skills he has, the better it is. For example, a singing one is preferred. You need to have a special voice. In my opinion, those who have a low voice can be ideal Grandfather Frost performers. According to a price list, it costs 15 rubles to invite a Soviet Grandfather Frost performer of the highest level. 10 rubles were paid for a performer of the high level and 5 for intermediate level performers. They started work after December the 20th and finished after January the 20th. Of course, it was good if Grandfather Frost could dance. However, it is difficult to imagine him dancing in a sheepskin coat and ballet shoes. Bulat Ayukanov says he has never met such performers, although he did not prevent him from trying to act this part himself. Twice a day I played Grandfather Frost for 10 days. I was thin as a rake and wore a wig. When, according to the script, I had to come onto the stage, a boy came up to me and asked, "Aunt, are you an uncle?" A country rarely knows its heroes' faces. A beard and mask fully protect him gaining fame, but not always. In Moscow, I participated in almost all of the New Year parties. Once I sang 55 times over 10 days. I exerted myself over those 10 days.
За 10 дней это было такое напряжение.
Yermek Serkibayev rarely acted as Grandfather Frost. Nevertheless, he did it in exotic countries. Usually, according to the script, the Snow Maiden disappeared and they had to save her. When it came to Serkibayev, Grandfather Frost himself disappeared before the performance. It happened in the West African country of Mali. The Soviet consulate launched the Grandfather Frost rescue operation.
Я там проторчал 1,5 часа.
I got stuck in an elevator for an hour and a half. I knew no foreign words at all. Actually, the only word I knew was catastrophe. This was an international word for help me. I was pushing the button shouting catastrophe, catastrophe. A bit later, I heard yes sir, and in half an hour they dismantled the elevator.
И где-то через полчаса разобрали лифт.
Incidentally, Soviet New Year show business was always based on the ideological script, which had to be approved by various committees. At performances, there were also people in civilian clothing. They did not dance or sing songs about the New Year tree. However, there were completely different Grandfather Frost performances too. Local Grandfather Frosts prefer a more reliable way of movement, although it is much slower. However, Grandfather Jusen was one of the dozens of children that kept glancing at the step and were watching for him. Of course, he arrived on time. Socialist Almaty, 1937. A New Year party for students obtaining excellent marks was held in the new capital Pioneer's House for the first time. Posters and leaflets explaining the census appeared in the city. Scientists to defectors were deprived of citizenship. Land is given to Turkish peasants. Raccoons migrate to Kalmyka. And Soviet television makes a step from a matchbox-sized screen to a square-meter screen. Chapter 3. A lot of happiness. By tradition, people celebrate New Year together with their family at home. According to some versions, this tradition has its roots from the period after the revolution. At first there was a holiday. There is a story about Lenin dancing together with kids around a New Year tree in 1919. Incidentally, when he was going to a morning performance, bandits attacked the leader, took his gun and stole his car. However, it did not hinder the celebration. According to Soviet writers, everybody sang a song about the New Year tree and danced around it. Vladimir Lenin sang in a loud voice. Atheist communists even celebrated Red Christmas for some time. Although in the 1920s they prohibited to celebrate New Year and decorate a New Year tree, but people did not stop celebrating. They did it secretly in their family homes so that their attentive revolutionary neighbors did not notice it. Incidentally, the tradition of celebrating New Year at the table started at that time. Under Peter the Great, people had been able to drink, have a good time and wear masks, but they ate later on returning home. Adults had a different New Year party. The biggest Almaty restaurant hardly accommodated all the customers who came here to celebrate New Year. Soviet professors, engineers, workers and office people gathered here. To the sounds of the kukuracha, elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder, they slowly but certainly moved towards the national holiday. Happy New Year! Regardless of the various traditions of saying goodbye to the old New Year and entering the New Year, and their interpretations and the meaning are the same, it unites people.
В том, что людей это объединяет.
Walking a line up to 15 people as they do now became fashionable in the late 1950s. At that time, the celebration got the features which had become used to. It did not happen by chance. As January the 1st became a holiday, it was possible to have a good time at night too. Before the revolution, a New Year's Day was one of the days after Christmas, which is why many people did not work. Uralski Listok, 1894. A meteor was noticed in the cloudless sky in Uralsk. Railway workers cry poems. In the city of Parma, the statue of Madonna started winking during Mass. There is a shortage of New Year trees and it is possible to get them only at a certain shop. It is news that a clock wound up once a day chimes a piece of music which you can choose yourself every 2 hours. The New Year's wishes are for the husbands to be patient, faithful and not to be cuckolded. Detest cards, be sober and have more friends and less enemies in the new year. We wish wives to love their husbands passionately and not be attracted to others and pay more attention to their children. Modern Grandfather Frost has a lot of problems. It took 3 days to buy toys at shops. You spend the new year the same way you celebrate it. According to ancient wisdom, you should part with the past easily. General festive euphoria helps to achieve it. Epilogue. Light up a New Year tree. A lot of traditions were left in the past and new ones were established instead of them. New Year remains a favourite holiday when we believe that all our dreams will come true. It is the time for happy hopes and family.